This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by... It is said that irony is the most powerful force in the universe. And on this cloudy July morning, I am not in a position to disagree. 11 months before, I have endeavored to responsibly exercise a right, enumerated by a constitution I have never sworn to uphold and would never have voted to ratify. I have sought to respectfully petition the Washington government for a redress of grievances. By entering one of its New Hampshire outposts and briefly distributing leaflets to its workers. I have been subsequently sought out by nervous officers from the Department of Homeland Security. These functionaries have issued me a $100 distribution of handbills fine, which comes to be known as a petitioning the government fine, a penalty for exercising First and 10th Amendment rights. I have refused to pay it and been sentenced to 4 days' exile in a Massachusetts dungeon. Thus I, an opponent of federal constitution, find myself defending it from its alleged protectors who have sworn to uphold it. To call the situation ironic seems accurate. Now, after 3 days in the notorious Essex County Jail, I am due for release. There is an early rousting and rapid breakfast. I am again processed through the jail's intake area and placed into one of its death trap transports. This time the shackles I wear are sufficiently tight to limit circulation, and I must hold my arms with some care in a given position to avoid injury. For 1 hour the ride unfolds uneventfully. My 2 Essex County escorts retrieve me from the disquieting vehicle. I begin asking them questions. What would happen if one of these vans overturned with prisoners inside? I don't remember the exact answer, but the gist of it was that something good would happen. The conversation begins to feel dangerous. One of the officers remains silent. The other, an officer named Glykos, does the answering and seems the most hostile individual I have run into so far. Infinitely more hostile than any of the inmates. I question his deployment of the circulation inhibiting shackles. He says he has set them looser than regulations would indicate. I thank him for setting them looser than regulations indicate. I ask him if he thinks it would be good for a harmless person to be seriously injured in his vehicle or killed. Someone who has never harmed or threatened anyone. I ask him if he is sure he does not have any prisoners of this type. He responds with a compliment of sorts. He says I should cop my New Hampshire attitude. I bet you're a cannibal or something, he tells me. I bet you're some sort of Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know why you're insulting me, I reply. I haven't insulted you. Shut up, he tells me. I will go where you tell me. I will treat you with respect, but I won't shut up. That is my reply. However, if he's trying to scare me, he does well. I wonder if this is the part where I tumble head first into the cement. However, Glykos is out of his territory, a marshal is watching, and nothing happens to his prisoner. Officer Glykos delivers me to my new cell, removes the constricting devices, and I say, "Thank you, Officer Glykos." He disappears from the scene, perhaps to torment another captive. Are you a student who believes in freedom? Are you a student who rocks at writing? Then head on over to NHLibertyEssay.com. NHLibertyEssay.com is sponsoring a contest in which the winner could receive up to $100. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to NHLibertyEssay.com. Get out your pen and defeat the other students. Now I am entirely in the hands of the marshals and their deputies. I query the witness to my conversation with Officer Glykos, a marshal or jailer by the name of Connolly, if memory serves. What are your thoughts on Officer Glykos' handling of that situation? I wasn't paying attention, comes the reply. I note that this is a safe answer to give. I am placed into a different, yet similar, cell from the one in which I originated. I pick up the previous project of scrawling nhfree.com on the seat backs with my fingernails. New detainees come and go. We cannot see each other, but we talk. A probation officer, probably in her 20s, appears upon the scene and quizzes one of these captives about various personal matters. As she leaves, I request her attention. Through the bars of my steel cage, I ask, of all the people you put through this holding area, what percentage would you say are charged only with victimless crimes? It depends on what you mean by victimless crime, she answers. I reply, a victimless crime is something you do which is illegal, but which does not harm or threaten others against their will. How many of your detainees and prisoners fit into this category? She says, so you mean like drug crimes? She does not know a percentage. I ask her if it is right to hold prisoners of this type. She says something to the effect that that is an interesting question. I ask her if she considers it right for her to participate in the detention of victimless criminals. She says she is only involved in handling their probation issues. They say a tyranny does best when its human elements are compartmentalized, and the blame may be widely spread for any evil it may inflict. A gulag functions most happily when all its officers and ministers may say to their kids and grandkids, I was at the terrible place where terrible things happened, but my job was just to sweep the floor. I do not remember if I presented this complex argument to the young probations professional, but I remember asking her about the morality of her involvement in a system that knowingly punishes the harmless. She said it was her career choice and she was happy with it. I think I said, it is hard to be morally objective about something that earns you money. After that, I thank her for listening to my concerns, and she departs. NHLibertyEssay.com